Today on the Matt and Matt podcast, we're talking about our collection journey throughout the years. So get your ticket from the station, grab a seat, and make sure you don't miss the train. All aboard. Good evening, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to episode 63 of the Matt and Matt Skill Trainz podcast. I am one of your hosts, Matt Rochford. And with me, as always, are my co-hosts, Matt and Johnny. Matt and Johnny, how you guys doing tonight?
We're doing pretty good. You know, I'm excited to have another show. I'm on it again. Would you go figure that out, huh?
Oh, wait, you must have, I guess you missed that memo then.
I guess we can't fire him yet.
Which one would that be?
Don't worry about it.
Okay.
You made sure you sent it to the right Matt email, right? Not,
I
there's
sent
so
it to
many Matts on the show.
Matt_licorice_lover at gmail.com. So,
Well, you got part of it right.
okay. Okay, gotcha.
It's licorice
Sure, yeah.
hater. There you go.
All right. Well, you know what? Let's go ahead and start our check-in like we normally do. So Matt Z, what you been doing since the last podcast episode?
I've been really busy. The last couple of days here, late nights after work and all that, I've been tearing up my layout. I am in the middle of doing that. I actually have all the track up, and just before we started this chat here tonight, I started removing my screws that held my table legs in. So we are really, really close. We're starting the whole deal. I'm really excited to keep going with that. So I'm going to keep going with that this week and keep building modules and all that. So we're getting there slowly but surely here.
Awesome. Dude, I wish you luck, and I'm glad you finally put boots to the ground and started the work, because I mean that's what you got to do. You gotta start somewhere, and it's like a momentum thing. Like, it's kind of happened to me too when I did some upgrades on mine. It's always that kind of initial like, oh, I don't want to do this. This is just gonna take forever. But as you start doing it, like you kind of build up this momentum, and obviously the end result is going to be fantastic for you.
Oh yeah, I can't wait. You know, and you're right. The initial great, I got to do this. And like I'm talking about before we started the chat was, if I don't start, I can't get anywhere. So, you know what I mean? It's like, well, okay, fine. And I just got a new engine today that I took a look at and boxed it back up because I can't run it. But
Yep.
we'll that'll be for later on. But you know what? That too, that'll give me an ambition to finish so I can run the thing. So
The journey of
there we go.
1,000 miles begins with one step. That's an official
that
Matt
right?
Mad podcast original quote. No, not really, but I wanted to say that.
Hey, it works for me.
I think that the feeling that's going to be really satisfying is when you actually start putting track together again, once you get your tables all sorted. Because I remember when I redid my layout, I didn't have to strip down the bench work, but after having a layout for so long and getting used to it, then you kind of forget what it's like just to put track together again. And that was one that made it really surreal for me. So I know you've been slowly but surely collecting all your track and stuff like that. So in fact, you're putting track away today. If
Got some Ross track out. I made a couple crossover sections, and then all my fast track is all in bundles ready to be sold. I don't need it anymore, so I'm gonna list that. I'll try to list it up and see what happens with it. But and so we're getting there. So I'm really excited to keep going on the Discord and all that. I'll be sure to post updates, so keep an eye open for those.
nice.
Thank you.
Well, let's go ahead and move to you, Johnny. What you been working on?
Let's see. What have I been up to? Well, over the weekend I went to Chicagoland, which is our local hobby shop. One that's on its way out, sadly, but want to come and visit Greg, bother Tim while he was working, the whole shebang. I actually got some rolling stock. I bought a REA B60, First B60 I've ever bought, even though people like a certain Burnsy has like a gazillion of them. I thought it'd be nice to grab one. I really should have bought the Union Pacific one he had. I might go back and buy it, but it's been really nice. I actually tacked it on the front of my troop train, which is another thing I've been playing around with. I think I've settled on what I really like for my troop train. So instead of just putting a bunch of military flats, it's a couple head end cars, heavyweight cars, a bunch of troop sleepers, then the kitchen car, followed by a diner, and then a coach at the end, which looks a lot more prototypical, at least in my eyes. I don't know if it is, but it looks cool, and I don't have to collect a bunch of military flat cars, so I might be letting those go to our buddy Chicago Jason here because I just don't have a use for them. They kind of look out of place for me. But by extension, and Matt R, you might find this interesting. I've actually made a switching puzzle out of it. Funnily enough, um, what I would do is I run it clockwise, and then I'll reach what my brain and my imagination is the end of the line. Pull out the RS1 that formerly was owned by Matt Z, formerly owned by Matt R, now owned by me, and try to flip the head end cars on the front of the train from the front train to the other side of the train, and then get the troop kitchen dining car coach to the other side and still retain the order but reverse it the other direction, which is actually surprisingly fun and hopefully an easier switching puzzle since my last one had driven Maddie C and Roman to the point of insanity. So I thought maybe I should make one that's not only new but a little bit more fun to do. So I'll have to have you trial it next time you're here.
I plan
There you
on it.
go. You get to use a Santa Fe switcher too. What more do you need?
Yes. Or steal it.
Oh, also, that reminds me. I actually also got I paid off DJ for some other cars, so I've taken Matt Z's place in terms of owing DJ money for Trainz. So I purchased a Southern Pacific diner and 2 Golden Gate Depot heavyweights, so 3 Golden Gate Depot cars in
Ooh.
total. So that will add to my Golden Gate Depot Southern Pacific heavyweight train. So really excited, and hopefully DJ will ship those out soon, and then I can continue to owe him more money for other Southern Pacific passenger cars I'm buying off him. So lots of cool stuff. How about you, Matt R?
Thank
No,
God.
you're gonna join him
At least,
soon.
no, I've given him enough.
You said that for the past 2 years.
I know.
This,
Now I'm giving Matt our money.
you've
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's you didn't mention that at all. Even that thing's sitting in my house right now.
Yeah, is it?
What did you get, Madsy?
I don't know. What did I get? No, I got a I'm buying from Matt his dealer appreciation BNSF GS4, the black with the white stripes. I'm really excited for that. That's been one of those I've been wanting quietly for a while, and I'm really excited for that.
Mine.
And to give that some context, the reason I sold him that one is because I actually found the PS3 version of that engine, which is what I had originally been looking for quite a long time, and it popped up, and I snagged it. And at that point, I remember Matt Z saying he really liked that engine, so I offered it to him.
Another engine owned by all 3 hosts, right?
Yes. It's a tradition.
Exactly. Well, what about you, Matt R? Aside from acquiring your new BNSF GS4 and PS3, what else you been up to?
Well, I decided to actually invest in another engine, and that being the new Atlas Amtrak P42s that are coming out. So, and the reason for that is I've always been an Amtrak fan. I've had Amtrak pieces in the past. And for someone like me who's a very big fan of diesels and passenger trains, especially stuff that comes out of Chicago, it's kind of odd that I didn't really have an Amtrak, small Amtrak collection. So I decided to delve into it. I've heard good things about them. I've already seen some videos and some audio. I did get the general kind of silver and blue one. And my goal is basically to reproduce the Southwest Chief, which obviously, if you are a big Santa Fe fan, was the original Super Chief line as well, which when Amtrak took over all the passenger lines, They basically renamed that route to the Southwest Chief, which is in fact still active today. So that's Chicago to Los Angeles. So I do have a couple of Amtrak Superliners coming in as well. I have a baggage car that I found, which should also be here. So trying to complete the set. Not going to go crazy here. I do want a few pieces to kind of complete that, Southwest Chief or, California Zephyr too. I can do either one. So I plan on setting myself up to do either one. So California Zephyr obviously went from Chicago to San Francisco, and it was a beautiful trip through the Rocky Mountains. So excited to get the Amtrak on board on my layout. Again, like I've always been a huge fan of Amtrak, especially since it is the modern, uh, transcontinental um, railroad for, passenger service. So why wouldn't I have that? I don't know why I didn't have it, but now I do.
That's awesome, dude. I'm glad you actually ended up snagging one because I was supposed to get one after our Atlas show we did with RJ eons ago, and I by the time they actually arrived, I completely changed my scope of modeling. So I was like, dang, I don't really need these anymore. But they're gonna look fantastic on your layout.
Thank you. I hope so. Yeah, I know that you uh the modeling era you went through some changes on your layout, and that's completely understandable as well.
Hmm. Are you getting what kind of cards are you gonna get for that?
So I found two of the K line 21-inch superliners, new in box, like never taken out. So now I'm on the hunt for two additional ones. I'd like to find a sleeper and probably another coach. So what I have coming is a coach and a diner. So a sleeper and another coach would probably be good to complete the set. I don't need too many. Obviously, I don't have a gigantic layout, so I think 4 21-inch cars are with also a baggage car on there too. That makes for a pretty lengthy train, I think.
I hope you know I'm gonna tag on private cars at the end of this trade.
At Do whatever you want, man. In fact, I look forward to it. Well, it's funny you say that because I also plan on doing some really cool stuff with my Santa Fe steam engines as well. I know, folks, if you do kind of track and watch older Santa Fe steam engines like 3751, they put that in front of the Amtrak engine out in California. So there's a lot of like special runs. So I have a lot of stuff that I could really do with this. And of course, I'm very open to anyone bringing stuff over and hooking up to that train and running it around as well.
I will make sure to do that.
All right. Well, I think that kind of finishes our host check-in. Let's get started on the main topic.
Looking to expand your collection? Check out Trainz.com. Trainz is your go-to place for new and used model railroad products. They have everything ranging from engines, rolling stock, parts, track, and scenery. If you need it, they probably have it. With new discounts being added daily, you'll be sure to find something you like. Plus, Trainz offers a newsletter which keeps you up to date on new items, discounts, and upcoming promotions. We've been using Trainz for years, and we highly recommend their stellar service. What's really cool is you can also collect points by buying Trainz and using them on future purchases. With their awesome rewards program, you can earn points on every purchase that you can use for future discounts. Dedicated modelers can also join their private car membership to get exclusive access to new listings, earn 5 points per dollar spent, and unlock great benefits like no questions asked returns. Trainz not only sells trains, but also buys them too. If you got a large collection or are interested in downsizing and making some cash, you can head on over to sellmytrains.com. It doesn't get easier than that. You can find them using our affiliate link, www.trainz.com/MMOP, or if you want to use our one-time promo code MMOP, you can get $10 off a single purchase on the Trainz.com website. So check out Trainz.com and start expanding your collection today.
Okay. So let's go ahead and start with our main topic for tonight, which we will probably divide into like three separate areas. So we're going to talk about our collection journey throughout the years. So we're going to talk about the trains that we played with and experienced when we were kids. We're going to talk about past layouts and all of the different phases that we went through, collecting from semi scale to command control and kind of everything in between. And then we'll go ahead and just talk about like where our collection stands today, and maybe some kind of like cool, interesting facts about our collection and why we do the things we do. Like, why do we love Southern Pacific, or why do some of us love Southern Pacific? Maybe as an example. Okay, so I'm gonna call out Matt Z first. Matt Z, tell us about like the trains that you played with and as a kid, and what you collected and what interested you.
So for me, when I first started doing this, it was really my dad and my uncle that kind of got me started with all of this. For me, I started with, ironically enough, Union Pacific, of all things. I had the Rail King RS3 and the Rail King Union Pacific FEF. No number boards, no Mars Light, very plain Jane engine. Both Rail King, but what can you do? Started off with that, and then we moved into my place I'm at now with the eventually torn down layout, which is right now very sad to look at. But anyway, I remember getting a lot of starter sets of all things. Getting the McDonald's F40 set, which that one was really cool. I am on the hunt for that one again, just because that was just a lot of fun. I really like that. Got in some SD70 sets, modern stuff, CSX UP, all that sort of deal, and as well as the Amtrak Superliner F59 in the Pacific Surfliner scheme. I remember all those very vividly, and that was it. So really, kind of modern diesels was really kind of the thing. Had some steam in there too. Had some Pennsylvania 280s and things like that. It really wasn't until around maybe 2013 or so when we started to go to some open houses for some local club members of the TTOS club, that they were showing off all their collections. It really kind of opened my eyes, at least, to steam, transition era, all that sort of thing, and really made me like that aspect more than the modern diesels and all that sort of thing. And so with that, I kind of put all those to the wayside and kind of looked at steam engines and looking into the more transition era side of things. So getting like, Jeeps and F3s and stuff like that. That was really what interested me and still does very much to this day. I got a few diesels here and there, but I have two modern diesels right now. And that's about all I'm gonna own. I appreciate modern. Uh, so for any guys that listen to this, I don't hate it, but it's definitely not my cup of tea. I sold all my modern rolling stock because I wasn't using it, and I figured I'd much rather put the money towards steam engines and passenger trains, which is another thing that I really really like, just because I'm a big fan of passenger trains. The history on them specifically is what I'm really into. When you can, look at, let's say, the 20th Century Limited or the Golden State or something, and you can just appreciate the train for what it was, not just for its, oh, it ran from here to here, but for its historical significance. I think is a big deal. So that's kind of my story.
Okay, I think mine is probably a little bit similar. I started when I was around, I would say around 8 or 9. I had a small HO layout, and then when during the summer when I would go visit my dad and my grandma, uh, they was always like I had a nice like kind of pre-built board with like a you know HO track on it, and that's really kind of what sealed the deal for me. No matter what scale you model in, like model railroading is model railroading. Like I don't care what anybody says. Like it's all the scales are great, and at that point, I knew what Lionel was. I knew what O scale was, But obviously, as 8 or 9 year old kid, it was easier for me to you know s- set up an HO track where I had plenty of room to make a pretty big oval, some switches, made some lighted housing, anything I could do get away with on a like a kind of a board. I think it was like a 4x4, or maybe it was a 6x4 board. I don't remember, but it was enough to pique my interest and keep me going and keep me collecting. So I did that for a couple of years, and then in late in grade school and in high school, I really didn't do too much model railroading at all. And when I got into my kind of 20s, I would say like mid 20s, that's when I really kind of dove into Lionel, and I bought a couple of the big rugged sets. And at this point, they still came with didn't come with fast track. It still came with the good old tubular track that I set up, and I actually had a pretty big layout. Believe it or not, it was kind of almost shaped the same way my layout is now. It was kind of like this big L-shaped layout of tubular track, and obviously nothing but conventional. I had a Union Pacific steam engine, and then of course I had some Santa Fe, diesels pulling passenger trains, of course. Uh, but yeah, that kind of really imprinted in me, like my love for model railroading in general, for Santa Fe. Obviously, when I HO, I had plenty of Santa Fe and Burlington Northern there as well, so it's always been a huge railroad interest for me. And I took that with me, and again, like probably like a lot of people, you kind of go in and out of the hobby here and there. And when I was married and bought our first house, I my interest got piqued again. I think my wife at the time went and found this like holiday set. It was a holiday Lionel set, and I still had like all my old Lionel too. Like, I mean, it was in boxes. But she found one like really cheap, and it was a conventional, and it was a steam engine, but it had like one of the box cars that would play Christmas music. And you put a battery in it. I still have like all those cars too. And when I put it, it came with fast track, and when I put it upstairs in our like our big kind of like family bonus room, it just like something happened, and I was just like, oh my god, like I am, I gotta dive back into this. Like it was just like I don't know, it's hard to explain maybe, but it's just like this whole you know feeling of just awesomeness came over me, and I'm like, man, what have I been missing? Like, this is definitely something that I want to start working on again. And yeah, at that point, it's something that I wanted to continue doing. And I'll talk more about the phases that I went through from semi scale to scale, and some other items that interested me and why I collect the things I collect. But I'll save that for our topics here coming up a little bit later on. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Johnny, and he can talk about his experience as a youth.
When I think I had a very different, similar but different experience than some folks. A lot of people I know, like for example, our buddy Jason, Chicago Jason, grew up with Lionel starter sets, the classic conventional fast track starter sets. But I was more like Matt Z. I started with MTH Rail King. I mentioned this many times on my channel and here on the show. The Rail King GS2 and the Alaska F40 were the sets that got me into, or engines that got me into trains. My it quite literally started with I was pretty sick as a child, and my father went by one of our local hobby shops, which is America's Best Train at Hobby in Itasca, Illinois, and he stopped in and he wanted something to distract me from my illness. So he not only was kind enough to buy me the F40 starter set with all the dome cars, but also to get me that Rail King GS2, and I love the heck out of those sets. And I, even though they're a very big part of my childhood, I didn't enjoy them the same way as most folks would. The Trains came out. maybe a couple of times, and then they went straight back in their box and they went into the basement. I didn't get a chance to really play with them growing up. How I would enjoy it was vicariously through a home video of myself, of my younger self, playing with it and going absolutely nuts as my grandfather would run the train. So it was very different experience than most. Trains also my love for trains grew more so through videos, VHSs of Thomas the Tank Engine, which is maybe where I have my interest of British trains, and not only that, but colorful trains, as the characters are quite colorful in their paint schemes. But also, I know Matt Z's in the same boat as me for this one. TM books and videos. I Love Toy Trains was a huge part of my childhood. I watched it so many times, and it was just. I remember I would annoy my mom because they would use Noma talking station clips in the video, and I would parrot them, and just playing with my trains. And it would annoy her to the point where she's like, "If you don't stop doing that, we're gonna stop letting you watch this video because you're driving me up the wall." But yeah, TM was a big part, and I know the same goes for Matt Z over there too.
Oh yeah, I was just watching not too long ago. A guy threw them up uh, online. All of them. I watched all of them from beginning to end, and the nostalgia wave was ridiculous. I mean, I said, you watch those all the time. You look at all the crazy things that they did in those shows. But yeah, it's that was a lot of where my love for what I'm currently doing now with the winter theme, which we'll talk about later on, was really stemmed from that, and just some of the things that they showed in those videos, all the post-war accessories and all that sort of thing. Really, that's where my interest came for a lot of that. And like I said, we'll talk more about it later. But yes, absolutely. I love toy trains and the whole TM thing in general. No matter what kind of show they did, those were fantastic. And I love if they made more. Maybe they will
Right,
someday.
right. Yeah, I'm with you there. And I remember watching TM stuff. They have their level of cinematography is really special. It's not just point camera at train and let train run. They built these sets where you in your kid brain assume that this post-war these all these loops of post-war trains and accessories went on for like miles. Like it was just nothing but a room of trains. You never saw the edge of their layout. It felt like it went on forever. And they spliced in real clips of trains too. And if for anybody who watched Out Toy Trains, the segment for the song, Smooth Operator, that showing the 4449. Um, like I mentioned before, my trains were in a box in the basement somewhere that I wasn't allowed to play with because I was too young in my father's eyes to play with an electric train like that, and he wasn't interested in trains, so he didn't have a need to have them out all year. So I kind of forgot what I had, even though it was a Rail King GS2. In my kid brain, I assumed that the Rail King GS4 or the 4449 was the engine that I had. So that's what it wasn't until I was much older that I realized it wasn't even that. Um, but that's where part of my love for the daylight came from, because the 4449 is around still, and there's a lot of footage of it running, and TM would splice a lot into their videos, so it's natural that I was into that. The Alaska set, no, you don't see that anywhere. I think barely any of MTH's merchandise even has that set in video, except for like a 2-second front coupler clip on their VHS instructional video. So my brain, and Matt R might find this entertaining, my brain assumed it was the blue bonnet, the blue and yellow freight scheme from Santa Fe the entire time. So I just assumed I owned a Santa Fe diesel my entire life. But nope, far from it. I had Alaska, which is not quite the same as Santa Fe. But yeah, that was a big TM was a very big part of it. And then
They both end
they
in
both end
A.
in A. There you go.
So
And I ended up
yeah.
doing both of them anyways. My modeling scope. But yeah, I enjoyed TM a lot, and that was a big part of it for me. And then I moved on to, as other kids did, Brio and Trackmaster, and Geotrax was the biggest part of it, because Geotrax was a line of trains done by Fisher Price. And the thing that I know people like RJ and Maddie C and Great Northern Jason is cheering right now because I mentioned it. Um, but it was a different approach to kids' toys, because it wasn't just, oh, let's do caricatures of trains that are for battery power for kids. They took actual Trainz, and they shrunk them down into like, lack of better term, like chibi form, if anybody's familiar with what that term is, like kind of cutesy small form of it. And they were actual trains. There were F units. There was the Dreyfus. There was the Acela. They had the Burlington, the Pioneer Zephyr. Everything was just shrunken down. So if you wanted a model of something, you would get that and enjoy it in battery form. It was RC. You could build layouts that took the entire living room and have sounds. It was great. But it was stuff like that that really sealed my interest in trains and got me into it and made me want to build layouts of my own.
I'm gonna have to look in those. I got some in the back. I'm gonna have to pull them out and see what I even have. I got some of those. I'll have to look and see what I got rolling. But yeah, I got some of those. And I forgot to mention it in between all of my thing. I had the wooden trains, all that sort of thing, which I still all have. I'll have to take a look and
You know,
see
what's the
what I
funny
got.
part, Matt? You said just so when you say
But
you got some of those. Did you have geotracks growing up, or?
I play with it a little bit. Not to the extent that I play with all the electric
Yeah.
stuff, but no, I do have a little bit of it. Like I said, I'll have to get the box out and see what I got. But yeah, I have played with that a little bit. I remember doing that. I remember doing the wooden trains at the same time. I remember the Lionel licensed wooden trains like the GP38 and the Acela, all that. I had all that. But yeah, I remember playing around with those when I was a kid. But yeah, I'll definitely have to take a look and see what
The
I
funny
got.
part about that is as a kid, I knew nobody who had geotracks. Like nobody was interested in them except for I was the only one in my neighborhood, which made me popular in the neighborhood with neighborhood kids, because they wanted to play with the geotracks, but nobody else that I knew had them. Um, and funny enough, the reason why I urged my mom and my dad to buy the house we're in right now is because the family that lived here before, they had geotracks. So I just go stare at their geotracks while they were looking at the house. Um, but I
No
didn't
kidding.
know anybody who played with geotracks as a kid until I kid you not, senior year of high school. I went to my buddy's house and he had like giant clear tubs of geotracks. I'm like, dude, are these yours? He's like, yeah. You had geotracks? Yeah. Dude, I still have my geotracks. And I kid you not, one day after school, and we had nothing to do, nothing better to do. I packed up all mine. I brought them to his house, and we built the biggest in our minds. Our high schooler brains was the biggest geotracks layout ever, and we were so happy. We didn't care that we were high schoolers. We were like, nah, trains are trains, and we're having fun.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. I definitely heard that too. Unfortunately, I don't have, like I said it before, I don't have anybody to really share this with, which is really kind of unfortunate. He's around, my neck of the woods anyway. I said, my grandparents' family and my dad's family, they're an hour away. So it's like I can't, go down the street and talk with somebody with trains. But yeah, I bet that was really quite something for you. And I wish I could have had that, believe me.
Come out here, run trains with us. We've been telling you for 2 years now.
It'll happen. It will happen.
All right. Well, we'll continue our journey after this quick message. Want to support your favorite O-Scale podcast and rock some awesome merch? Well, now you can. We've teamed up with Redbubble.com and have come up with a great selection of gear that you can get right now. They have everything from shirts, hoodies, stickers, mugs, bags, you name it. Heck, you could even get a wall clock with us on it. All this great stuff and more at Redbubble.com. Links are down in the show notes, so grab yourself some gear and rock some awesome podcast merch. Okay, well, welcome back. Let's go ahead and continue our journey of collecting throughout the years. Johnny, why don't you go ahead and start us out, man?
No, I don't. That's not how this is gonna
No?
go, man. I still have my when we played how we played Uno like 3 weeks ago. Yeah, I still held on to my
Yeah.
reverse card, so it's actually your turn.
All right. The only thing I have is draw 4. Matt Z, draw 4.
Matt's
Sure.
I'll draw 8.
sure
You
there you
draw
go. He's
8.
taking the
Go
hit for the
ahead.
team.
Yes.
Draw 4 licorice. All right.
Yes,
Uh,
please do.
yeah, I'll go ahead and start out. Absolutely. So we're going to talk about how we journeyed from semi-scale to scale, or conventional to command control, and then talk about a little bit of the the railroads that we collected throughout the years, and maybe some that kind of fell off the radar, so to speak. So I was huge into semi-scale, absolutely, especially semi-scale steam engines, which were very new to me. And the first semi-scale, like really detailed steam engine I ever bought was the MTH Hiawatha F7, and I bought the set. It was the PS2 one. I had the set one, so it came with like the F7, and then it came with like four Milwaukee Road cars, and I was kind of like blown away. I mean, praise to MTH with their Imperial steam line. It's even today, to today's standards, it's still like the best bang for your buck when it comes to buying like steam engines. I mean, it was super detailed, engineer figures, flickering firebox, the tender had chains on them. It was very detailed. The sound package in it was fantastic. It was a good smoker. And then, of course, I had the semi-scale passenger cars behind it, and that really set the stage for me collecting more steam engines. Because at the time, for diesel engines, I usually just went up to the scale side of things. I think one of my first diesel command control engines was a Metra F40. Hey, big surprise there. So just to kind of give you some reference to uh, the last part of my story, I ended with me opening up this holiday set from Lionel, this Christmas holiday train set. And that was like the catalyst for me to like really start getting back into model railroading. And I didn't know anything about like command control, like whatsoever. I was kind of like, well, it really impressed me and I was very excited. And obviously I went on YouTube. YouTube was just kind of starting out at that time with like there was a few like train people, especially like Eric from Eric's Trains. So kudos to Eric. He was a good resource when it came to like starting out, like how do I get this set up, stuff like that. So I did end up buying both a legacy uh, command set, so Cab 2 L, and I also went ahead and bought a MTH TIU set as well. And I was kind of like, I didn't have much for track. I had the very kind of small to medium large one loop on the carpet. But you know what? I was doing command control, and at that point I fell even more in love because I was like, wow, these engines sound so great, and I can run both of them at the same time, and it was a really, really good experience for somebody who just came from conventional, went to command control, and it just felt so awesome to have that remote in your hand and to be able to control the functions of the engine. So, you know, moving forward, several years, I'm here where my present layout is at. I was still doing semi-scale steam engines at the time because my loops were like 048 and my inner loop was 036, and obviously you can do the math there. You're not you're not really running uh too big of steam engines on those loops. And when I decided to kind of get bigger, I was playing with fire at that point because I still had 048 when I went ahead and picked up uh my Santa Fe 3751, my Northern, which actually ran on 048 like without any problems. I started kind of buying some more engines that were maybe not fitted for 048, but they would still work. And again, this was me building up my collection. And I really just once I got that scale 3751 steam engine in my hand, I was like blown away. I was just like, "Holy cow, this is the first." Well, I shouldn't say that wasn't technically the first scale steam engine. Matt Z will probably like this, but the first scale steam engine I ever bought was a New York Dreyfuss Hudson
And you should
uh,
have kept it.
MTH Premiere. Yeah. So if you go on my channel and if you go back several years, I do have a video of me running it. That was an awesome steam engine for sure.
That set looked really nice on your layout. I remember watching that one. That was one of the first ones I watched from you, and
It did, and
that was really cool.
I kind of wish now, I know hindsight is 2020, but I kind of wish now I would have kept it. It had the, obviously, that train went from, Chicago to New York. So it still fit the kind of the plan or the way I was kind of handling like oh jeez. Let me start over. 3, 2, 1. So that engine did obviously go from New York to Chicago, so it fit the theme of my layout still. And I do again, I kind of wish I would have kept it. It was a really nice, beautiful steam engine for sure. And then when I ended up getting the Santa Fe 3751, so it's the Team CC one, but it's the scale Santa Fe Northern. I was just like blown away. I was like, wow, this thing is just absolutely gorgeous. Like, let's just say it was the first non-streamlined steam engine in, scale format that I ever owned. And at that point, like, it was just like the gloves were off at that point. I was like, okay, this is awesome. Like, I got to upgrade my layout. I got to make my layout larger. Like, I need more steam engines. And I wasn't really a big steam engine person. Like I've always been a diesel guy, and I still am a diesel guy. I love diesel engines. Grew up around diesel engines. Used to, I lived in Berwyn for a long time. I'd walk to the train station and just kind of watch the, Burlington Northern trains come through. So again, always been a diesel guy, but hanging around this crew and everybody else that I've met through model railroading and the YouTube channel, they definitely had a big effect on me when it comes to running steam engines. So, I do want to make a point that I always loved steam engines. So I don't want anybody to think that that wasn't, something that I didn't like. It just for collecting, I wasn't really into it and I focused more on the diesel side. But I have to say, my steam engines definitely catching up at this point. It's not as close to my diesel engine number, but it's definitely multiplied from a few years back.
You need.
And then go.
I was
What'd
gonna
you say?
say you need a you need a bookcase of steam engines, right, Matt? Do you have a bookcase of F units alone?
I do. That's right. I do. Actually, the steam engines are on the bottom.
But I want
So,
them lined up like a line of Northerns, like you have all those ABA units.
gotcha. I'm gonna need some pretty deep bookshelves for that. I think.
That'll be fine. That'll be fine.
And then to wrap it up for me, I'll just really hit on the railroads that I've collected throughout the years. And for me, like again, if you know me, if you listen to this podcast, if you watch my YouTube channel, I'm a Chicago guy. I collect a lot of Chicago-based stuff. So for the most part, though, my big railroad is definitely Santa Fe. I'm a huge Santa Fe guy. Always been since day one. From when I was a kid, I just love the Santa Fe Railroad. I don't know why. I guess I fell in love with the diesel, the F units, the Super Chief, all that stuff. That red and silver. I just absolutely loved it, and I thought it was beautiful, and I still think today it's beautiful, and it's definitely had an effect on me. And I'll talk about some of that other stuff in the next segment, but as far as like railroads that may have come and gone. So again, I was always been a Union Pacific guy as well. I still own my big boy, 4014 scale one, the last MTH Premier one that they ran a couple years ago. But I kind of dived a bit too heavy in it, and I suffer from being a completionist a bit, and I'm sure a lot of people can kind of understand that. Like I like to collect when I collect something, like if there's other pieces that go with it, like I like to collect all the pieces that go with it. And to have like two major railroads like that, like Santa Fe and Union Pacific, it just got, I was basically getting pushed out of my own railroad as far as like my shelves and my, the way I stored everything. Like it just got out of control, and I'm like, I can't do this anymore. Like I need to, I definitely need to, uh, reduce my collection. As hard as it was to give up Union Pacific, and like I said, I still own some pieces. Still own the M10,000. I still own the big boy, and I won't let those go. Those are very uh, personal to me. But it was time to kind of like downsize for sure. And of course, Santa Fe was not going to be the choice. So poor Union Pacific ended up getting the boot. But who knows in the future? Who knows? Maybe I'll delve back into some more Union Pacific. But since Matt Z had to draw 8, I'm going to go ahead and give this back to Johnny.
Well, when it came to building and expanding from that starter set, I had that Rail King set for a very long time, but and I was very spoiled by MTH, and I specifically remember this because I remember much like kids of my age who around there around early 2000s, 2010s, the Polar Express was the big thing, and the Lionel Polar Express starter set was the set to have. So I remember begging my dad for that, and I wanted the Polar Express set and specifically the train sounds tender to go with it. And I remember watching all the videos, everybody who built their Polar Express layouts at that time, and I wanted one really bad. And my dad was kind enough to get me one for I think it was actually not a Christmas gift. It was actually like a good grades gift when I was in elementary school. And where I got that and I set it up and I had the cars, like, oh, I can run this with my other stuff, and I mixed and matched as you do when you're younger. And I remember running the set, having the train sounds tender, hitting the direction button, having the sounds cut out, and went, wow, this sucks. And I was like, I don't know if I like Lionel stuff as much. And I went back to my MTH stuff and I ran that most of the time. Um, and I built so many floor layouts as a kid. Just a mixture of tubular and fast track, and it was just a nightmare. I look back and I remember putting my Rail King GS2 through these really shoddy tubular 031 curves. It was just oh, I don't like it. I don't like it. It was not great. But kid me didn't care, and I had this giant floor empire of just a mixture of toys and trains of different scales, HO, O scale, Lego, LGB. It took up like half the basement. It was bigger than my layout. Same basement took up more space than my layout takes up now, which is crazy to think of. Um, but I had fun. And it wasn't until I was a little bit older that I discovered, and I know Matt Z has nostalgia for this person's channel too, for Matt Flanagan's channel, or Railroad Trip 445. I remember watching his channel, and he had all the legacy Burks at that time. The CNO 2696, the 760 nickel plate 765, Permarket 1225, or the Polo Express version, just all of them. And I got to experience Legacy for the first time through his channel. And the idea of a quilling whistle blew my mind. And I wanted something like that. And I I wanted to try Legacy. It was the cool thing. You could coil the whistle, like the cool remote and everything. Scale engines. I didn't even know scale engines were a thing. I was only into semi scale. Um, But the closest I could get that was scale was either an SD70 from Lionel or a Line Master Challenger, and asking for a legacy steam locomotive and legacy at the same time is quite an expensive ask for my family. So I settled with just asking my dad for many years later if I could get legacy, which he obliged, and I got the legacy system. And like I said, my dad's not a trained person, so I never he never found out that he bought me a couple $100 command control system, and I had absolutely no engine I could use to run with it. But I remember being a kid and rereading the instruction manual over and over and over again just to understand how it worked, which served me no good to this day because there's still a lot of things I don't know how to do with the legacy remote. But I was very happy with that, and eventually I got my first command control engine from Lion Out, at least, because Rail King engines that are PS2 technically are command control with DCS, but I didn't have DCS. I had my Lion Master Challenger. I desperately wanted the legacy version, and I didn't do my research. And when my dad actually helped me to get that engine, we got the TMCC version, and I couldn't quill a whistle. The one thing I wanted to do with legacy, and I didn't have the heart to tell him that either. So he's like, "Is this the right one? Is you like it?" I'm like, yep, I love it. Which wasn't a lie. I enjoyed it, and to me, with only being into semi scale, seeing the Challenger was fantastic, and I ran that thing to death on my 36 curves, and my layout kind of stayed in limbo in 036 for a very long time because track is expensive, and like I said, I didn't feel comfortable asking my dad for more stuff than that. As we all know, trains are very expensive, so my layout kind of sat in limbo um, for many years until my adult life, where I was working one of my former jobs, and I had a lot of downtime at that job. So I was on my phone, and I had some income, and I didn't know what to do with the bucks. So I messaged my girlfriend at the time, and because I was just like, well, I remember Trainz, and I looked it up on eBay, and I found a Rail King Imperial set for the Daylight with the GS4 and the matching cars. And my childhood dream was to have a matching set of cars for my Daylight. So I messaged her. I'm like, should I get this? It's pretty pricey. And she's like, yeah, well, if you want to, if it makes you happy, you should do it. I'm like, okay, I'll do it. And then I got, like Matt said, I got sucked back in. It just reunited a spark, and I just wanted more. I just wanted to build to the layout, add to the collection, and build a layout. Now that I had money to do so, um, which led me to expand from 036 to finally do 060 curves, and seeing an engine that seeing the Challenger go from looking ridiculous in 036 curves to actually looking realistic, and pulling, slowly adding freight cars every week and just building the collection up bit by bit. It was it was big. And then I started buying scale engines. I bought my Western Pacific Jeep 7 for a ludicrously cheap price. I think if I were to guess, it was like 100 $200, something stupidly cheap, because there was someone on eBay who only knew G scale. So I got that, and then I got my Southern Pacific Daylight Atlantic as well for around the same ballpark price too. Again, because they were G scale, didn't know what they had, and I I thought that was fantastic. I enjoyed those, and then the real kicker had to be the Milwaukee Road S3, and I know Matt Z loves his. He might have something to chime in about that, but that was my first scale legacy steam engine, and what a one to get started with. I mean, two whistles and an air horn, plus cylinder steam. I mean, you can't get better than that. And once I got that, I was bitten by the scale bug. I couldn't go back to semi-scale steam engines. The detail, mine was weathered as well. I mean, I just like, I can't go back. I want more. And since then, I I I kept collecting more and more. I even hunted out the matching pasture cars to go with it. I love scale stuff, and I wanted to expand and basically get everything I had in semi scale and get it in scale if I could. But it was a fantastic engine. I know, like, over there, Matt Z has his, and he loves it to bits.
Yeah, that engine was my. I'm gonna start in the high end scale realm of trains. That engine is fantastic all the way through and through, and I'll talk about it more. Like I said, when we get to my part, but yeah, that engine. If you want a legacy steam engine, that's the one to buy. I don't think anybody will disagree with that one. That engine is worth every penny. You'll pay for it, believe me. But it is worth what you're going to pay for. It is a fantastic engine, absolutely, no doubt. And I don't know, Matt Flanagan. I don't know who he is. You got to enlighten me after we're done
I
with
don't
the
know. He
show here.
plays.
No,
Does he
seriously,
play tropical music or something in his videos? Or oh,
I
okay.
think so. Yeah, he does that. And, the confused banjo music. He plays that too. But no, yeah, I'll have a story with him to talk about. But yeah, he was a very big influence on my love for Legacy. And like I said, when we get to my part, we'll delve into all that. But anyway, keep going.
Yeah, which also actually brings me to my next engine I bought, which was my next scale steam engine. This one I paid too much for this engine, but it was a thing where it's like it's that childhood dream, and you kind of make do with what you can find. And that was my American Railroads Legacy Berkshire. Like I said, and Matt said, we'd watch Matt Flanagan, and I remember his nickel plate Burke, and I wanted one. But by the time I got into Trainz, it was like 2021 or 2022, when I probably had some bucks to buy some nice Trains. And the only nickel plate Burks you could really find on the market that weren't a ludicrous price were the American Railroads versions, the Golden Spike Centennial Limited version. And like I said, my childhood hobby shop, America's Best, they had one on the walls. They had one for many, many years. And a lot of people just, they just kind of looked at it, well, that's kind of cool. And they left it alone. So it stayed at Tony's shop for quite a long time. And I remember I walked in and I was like, you know what? I need one that I can put on layaway and slowly accumulate the money for. And I know this one's not going anywhere. It's been here for years. It's probably going to still be here. So I put the engine on layaway, and I worked my tail off. I ate more Domino's pizza than I should ever eaten, or any human should eat in their entire life, just to try to save up for it. Um, and I finally brought the engine home, and that engine has whistle steam. It's got the 765 whistle. It's fantastic. And not only was that, but I posted on one of the discords I was on at the time, and through that I became friends with Bernsey, and I met Tim from Chicagoland, because I had just messaged in that Discord. Oh, I spent a lot of money in this train. I'm probably not going to buy anything for a while. I'll find the cars eventually, because those cars are stupidly rare. And within like an hour, I get a DM from Tim telling me they have it at Chicagoland. So I the next week I go to Chicagoland and I buy the cars, which were my first ever scale MTH pasture cars, and it just kept growing from there. Since and it also inspired my layout. I redesigned my layout again from that point. I was I fell in love with the history behind the 765, all the videos of it, traveling, and especially seeing it go through Cuyahoga and Steam in the Valley. And I wanted to model something like that, so I restructured my layout to kind of depict something that was kind of similar to Cuyahoga, a scenic railroad, and that served as the foundation for what I modeled for a while. It allowed me to collect more excursion engines, and I was very excursion orientated. I wanted more of that. So if any steam engine was on my layout, it was a visiting engine that was touring the scenic railroad. Um, but that was what my layout was based off of for many years, until I started collecting more SP and doing more research into in-service railroads and all that stuff. And well, after that, I kind of had to. I got into SP really heavily. I got into Union Pacific. Um, Matt R gave me a hat that was SPSF, and I'm like, Santa Fe's pretty cool, and Southern Pacific's pretty cool. I won't model SPSF, but I'll model them separately, and I kind of went hard into those railroads. It's all because of a hat, man. You gave me a hat.
Yep. Anything could be a catalyst.
You just pull me into the war bonnet coal. That's what it is. But yeah, then after that, I really went into the West Coast railroads, because it it's what I grew up knowing, because I was such a I was into the daylight a lot, and also because I watched an old MSTS series called the Full Buccaneers, and that focused specifically on the West Pacific, Union Pacific, and Southern Pacific. And I it not only scratched the nostalgia itch, but it also allowed me to learn more about a railroad I already had a lot of interest in. And once I went full gung ho into wanting to model Southern Pacific during the transitional era, I purged a lot of my East Coast stuff. So all the Berks, the S3s, the Class A's, the uh, I don't know what else I had. Nickel plate 080s, everything went bye bye and moved on to other owners who will very much appreciate them now. But it's been a journey, and a lot of this has happened in the past 2 years. So a lot of changes has come to my layout. But speaking of people who are happy with my purge of East Coast stuff, how was your journey up to getting to this point, Hedsey?
We've got a ways here, but no. First of all, that Class A, man, let me tell you, it's quite an engine. And I know I said that to you a couple times, but yeah, it's uh, it's really a fun one. I can't wait to see what it'll look like on 072. But anyway, so we get back when we move into this house, which is kind of where I left off on our last section. Was I had all those starter sets when I was a kid, and I had starter sets. Right, I didn't really ever get any separate sale pieces. I basically got starter sets. I had track upon track all over the place. A lot of Lionel starter sets. So like Johnny, I had the Polar Express. I had the air whistle one, not the train sounds or steam whistle. None of that. Although I really do like that whistle steam one you got. But I had a lot of that. So I liked it for a while, and then I did some dumb things, which we will leave at that, and kind of just let them go by the wayside, and didn't really do a whole lot with them. And then, like I said, we went to a couple open houses, and that's when we saw Legacy for the first time. Saw the Vision line and all the cool things that they did. Now, in the midst of all this, my uncle and my dad, my grandpa, they had still have a layout that they were been working on. That's when I got really into DCS and MTH and all of that. So that's kind of where the nostalgia for a lot of the MTH comes, specifically with the early Proto 2 and Proto 1. Um, Besides, I love toy trains with all the Proto 1 sound that they threw in about every 5 seconds. Running all those was always a lot of fun. I had at one point the New York Central F3 in Proto 1, and that was when I just had a 4x8 table, and I remember playing with that thing all the time. I remember it took me forever and a day to hook up those tethers. Let me tell you that. I hate those tethers. Those are terrible. But I remember doing the Proto 1 reset sound like all the time. I think so bad I bricked the board. I did it so many times. But that one was really cool, and we got into that. That was my first scale diesel at the time. So that one was a lot of fun. I had that. And then, like I said, the Steam thing kind of was from YouTube. YouTube and going to people's houses, like I said, uh, definitely was a lot of that. And like Johnny said, Matt Flanagan really got me into Legacy long before it ever hit my grandpa, my uncle, and my dad. They, my dad was he's like, I don't want Lionel, I don't want another command system. I don't really care, basically. And, I'm like, well, I remember seeing that freaking Pennsylvania Heritage unit, which I foamed over like crazy as a kid. And now that I have one, I mean, I love it. It's a fantastic engine. Um, but I remember watching that from Flanagan, watching all the early Vision line, the Challengers, the CC2, all that. It's always really, really fun. Watching all of that really made me kind of like that, and slowly but surely, got into you know Steam and Legacy. So in the midst of all that, I started with Legacy. I started with diesels of all things, Pennsylvania diesels. Then I got in a set that Matt and I joke about all the time, which is the Burlington CB&Q F3s, and that set opened my eyes to Lionel and really made me like that a ton. I mean, that set was fantastic all the way. It went to Matt, and
Oh man.
it went to Matt. Let's just put it that way.
Yep.
It went to Matt, and no, what do you got to say? Go ahead.
No, it went to me. That's all we
It
have to
it,
say.
it went to you.
A pit stop.
That's about all you could
And
say.
then it left my house. So
Yes.
Well, it's like that
Mhm.
RS1, Matt. It went to you, and then it went to Matt. Matt ran it once, and then it's mine.
Yeah, but no. So we got into that, and then I found DJ, my buddy DJ. I found him looking up. I forget what I was looking up. I don't think it was Subway. It was something. I don't remember how I found him, but in any event, I found him, and he showed this Legacy K4. And I remember looking at the catalog when it came out. Uh, thinking, oh, this is pretty cool. I mean, I really didn't look at the Tuscan when I looked at like the regular green. I'm like, this Tuscan, that's cool. You know what I mean? And I'm like, wow, this is neat. I really like this. So, we get to talk, and we started off emailing, and then, I'm like, oh, here, why don't we just text? We had email strings that were 60 emails long. I'm thinking, why don't we just text? So, okay, start texting, whatever. So, I'm not even at my first job yet. Okay. He hits me with, I'm ready to sell my Tuscan K4. Okay. What do you want for it? So gives me the price, whatever. I'm like, okay. I'm thinking, I'm on a bad foot to start off with. I haven't even got any money yet, and I'm already spending it. You know what I mean? But no, that was my first legacy steam engine that I got, that Tuscan K4, and I love it. What a piece. I lashed it up with the long haul K4 because the Lionels, they can't really pull for squat, basically. So I run them together so that way it'll pull more. Plus, it looks better anyway. Um, but I got in there, got some more legacy steam, and I said that was my dive into steam. And then comes when I left that first job. Was just the day I left. Was the day Johnny got in my S3. We got it from Denny's Trainz and Things in Oswego. And my God, that engine turned my whole day around. That was a fantastic engine. It means a lot to me because, like I said, my life going through at that time. But yeah, that is a fantastic piece all the way, and I won't bore you to death on it, but that's a really fun one. And then from there, I kind of just kept going and going. Somewhere in the mix, I got Johnny when we first started talking. Him and I worked on a deal for a Reading T1, which is really cool. And then, I got some other things. Talking with Sid, I got the Uncharted J and his 611 and a couple of other things that I really like as well. Later on in the mix, actually throughout all this, really, I went to go see one of my grandpa's friends. His name's Rich, and unbeknownst to me, I've been watching Rich for the past like 12 years on YouTube and didn't realize it. So I went over to his house. He had the open house that he did, and I'm like, I was standing in the corner of the room. I'm like, I know this guy. He's Hudson Trainman on YouTube. And my dad told me that story all the time. He goes, yeah, you remember when you first saw him, whatever? Like, yeah. Let me tell you. And then after that, we've been friends ever since that. That's, oh my God, let me tell you, Richie's a great guy. Look him up, Hudson Trainman on YouTube. Fantastic guy. But anyway, he's getting out of the hobby. So I bought off of him an engine that I can't get enough of. He has the Rail Sons 5 near Central Mohawk. So I bought that off of him, and I'm like, you know what? If there's one piece I'd own from his collection, it was that. Every time we hung out, we ran that, and I'm like, man, I told him every time, if you're ready to sell this, let me know. So he was saying he was ready to sell stuff. So I'm like, what do you want? Done. Let's do it. So we got it, and that engine means a lot to me too, just because of where it came from. What a fun engine. I'm not going to keep boring you with my collection because we could do a whole nother show on that, but just a lot of really cool things in here. And then Johnny's bit me with the SP Wave, which I will save that for the final part of my talk.
You know what's the funny part about that T1, Matt?
What's that? That just finished paying it off a
Yeah,
couple
that took
months
you
ago.
2 years to pay it now.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that that was my first scale MTH engine, and I didn't even keep that was your MTH engine. I barely had to play with it.
No, I mean, I told him, I says, play with it as much as you want. He goes, well, no, it's really yours. I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, Sid still gives me hell for it because he was playing with it at Palooza to it had a tether issue with it, and they were doing a stream at Jason's house, and I was looking, I think, wait a minute, that T1's been on this entire time. I go, Sid, what are you running up the hours on my T1 for? You know, he still reminds me of that one all
Next
the
time
time.
I sell an engine to you,
But
it's gonna sit on the track with power on for hours, and then I'll have you. Then I'll give it to you.
yes, and what the funny part is, I've put more time on it than he probably did. But no, that's a really fun engine. I really like that one. It's a shame they only made one number because I've had stuff come and go from my collection in the past 6 months, really. And I think out of everything I've traded to people, everybody has offered me that T1. I'm thinking if they made another number, I would do it in a second just to have another one because I really want two. I mean, eventually I'll find another and some other livery or whatever and have it renumbered. But what can you do? All right, so we'll get into our last segment here after this quick commercial break. Enjoying this week's topic? You can join in on the conversation too on our community Discord server. We have a lot of different discussion channels ranging from showing off your collection, discussing the latest and greatest in the industry, a buy and sell forum, and even a voice channel you can hop on call and talk Trainz with us late into the night. We're a little over 300 strong and we'll love to have you join us too. Check out the invite link to our community Discord down in the show notes. Read and acknowledge the rules, and introduce yourself and start chatting. We have a great team of moderators who make sure all are welcomed and respected. So what are you waiting for? Come on down and join us in on the fun, and let's talk some Trainz.
All right, welcome back, and we are at the last stop on our journey back on looking back on our collection, and that is Trainz that we have today of the present, and really how our tastes have changed and what that's led us up to. And for me, what that led me to is, like I said, collecting SP as my primary railroad. After I did my great East Coast purge and went full West Coast, my layout's not only changed from a scenic railroad but to a desert. So there's cacti and stuff everywhere, and it's made a complete 180 from just a kind of a rough concept to a very scenic railroad, very scenic layout, which I'm very proud of. And I've collected a lot of West Coast pasture trains, ranging from the the Daylight to the California Limited to the Los Angeles Limited, Golden State, Sunset Limited, everything. But like I said, my passion is transitional era SP, and you can't have that without having the Daylight. Um, to the point where I've collected almost every Daylight engine that's pulled every type of engine that's pulled the Daylight, with the exception of like the MT5. I know Lou is cackling with his at his place right now, but I'll get one someday. But it's led me to have I think three GS4s, an E7, Alco PAs, an Atlantic, P10, a whole shebang, and that's probably the set I'm the most proud of. Um, it's the set that I had those Rail King cars and I thought those were fantastic, and then I bought a K line business car in Daylight, which made me go, "Ooh, this is much nicer. I'll collect more of these cars." And it's been about a 2 year endeavor to get the whole set. And I was lucky enough to have one of the Mats from the Matt Discord uh, sell me their set, and it's my pride and joy. And I've also got a Golden Gate Depot articulated set to go with it. But not only that, I've got two fantastic MTH engines to go with it with custom sound sets. So um, I with both done by our buddy Isaac Osk every day on the Matt Discord, and he took the sounds straight from the engines out of video samples or the documentary I grew up watching, and it's perfection. And it's one of my favorite pieces, and I think is the epitome of where my collection has gone over the past year. Is um, just modeling SP, the heyday, the transitional era, and going nuts with that. So yeah, that's where I've ended up after this whole long journey looking back. Matt Z, how about you?
Well, for me, kind of almost gone back to my childhood, really, if you think about it. Not so much with the trains I've been collecting, but more so the videos and stuff that I've been watching. We went to talking about, I love toy trains and the post-war accessories and all that sort of thing. So I'm kind of almost modeling that to an extent, putting that in with Christmas and the winter theme. And the winter theme mainly was from our buddy Bryce, or O Scale Trains Lover, on Instagram and Discord. And I was watching him, and I'm like, he's got really cool stuff that he does. He's got the winter theme with the MTH buildings and some Department 56 and stuff like that. I'm like, you know what? That gives me the I Love Toy Train vibes. And we were talking. That's basically what it is. And so I'm like, you know what? I want to do that. So I'm like, this is really cool. So you know what? I'm gonna do this. So I dug out some old Department 56. We have the Dickensville collection. I got a lot of that. So I'm like, you know what? Why did I use this? It just sits there. We always talk about selling it, whatever. You know what? I want to use it, and so we're using it. I pulled out a bunch. Just actually put them away today, but that's for another time. But we did that, so I got them out and figured, why don't I try it? So I tried it. I still don't have snow yet, but looking back now, I'm glad I didn't buy it yet because it would just be a waste, at least at this current time. But so I started with that. So we're rolling with Christmas and the winter theme. And now with the winter theme, you can always have, I don't know, West Coast, right, Johnny? What do you think about that one?
You never have too much West Coast. You should have more. In fact, you should buy more SP stuff.
West Coast
Hey,
is best
Exactly.
coast.
hey, I'm working on it. I got Roman's Daylight. I got Matt's GS coming. And I got your Train Master. So we're off to a good start. And so I figured, you know what? What I can do is I can kind of model Donner Pass a little bit. Very, very, very truncated version of what it would be. But the snow, I mean, they have snow all the time out there. So why not start with that? So I'm going to probably do some snow sheds and some things like that. I'm going to do a mountain. One of the corners, because I got the Department 56 skier guy that goes down the slope. So I'm going to throw him up on the top of the mountain, skiing down. So that'll be pretty cool. Add some whimsy in there. Obviously, kind of keeping with the traditional vibe. Uh, and so that's really what we got going. And like I said in the onset of this and on the Discord before, doing this new layout, it's going to be a lot of fun to try some things that I've wanted to do, just haven't gotten around to it yet. So I'm really excited to get going. So definitely, as of right now, it's going to be winter passenger trains. Then, of course, my subways. You can't forget those. They run in the winter time too. Of course, here in New York. Obviously, different part than where I'm from, but it'll work out perfect. So, speaking of perfect, and maybe the collection of Matt R. What do you got for us, buddy?
And the mighty train engineers said, "Let there be Santa Fe."
That's great.
A big Santa Fe fan my whole life. And to kind of end this out, For me, I had kind of a small goal to collect each of the Santa Fe passenger war bonnet diesels. Kind of like the primary ones that, were, used on all the major routes. And I succeeded. I was able to get there. So really happy with that. Now I gotta now I gotta create a new goal for myself. but but yeah, I mean, again, my layout has always been kind of centered around Santa Fe and building a really cool Santa Fe passenger based kind of layout. I like train stations. I like running passenger trains. It's kind of the thing that I've always been focused on. Now that doesn't mean I don't like diesel stuff. I obviously love running that on my layout as well. But it's easier to kind of like focus on a single theme and then, you know, add a little bit of kind of other things in it as well. And so my ultimate goal again was just, I'm going to make this a Santa Fe passenger layout and then sprinkle in a little bit of everything else here and there. And, I've been very, very happy with that. And I've been very fortunate enough to collect the things that I've collected. And, again, this is, we said a lot of expensive engines on this podcast, and trust me, like, we know trains are expensive, and we're not trying to, this isn't any kind of bragging or anything else. Like, I've been collecting Santa Fe engines for you know 20 plus years here, so I have a lot of time invested into what I've been collecting for a long time, and scouring eBay for years upon years waiting for that engine to pop up that I've been looking for. And again, just very fortunate that I've been able to find the engines that I found. And so I consider myself very, very lucky. And obviously I'm happy to, run the trains that I have, but I'm even happier when my friends come over and they're able to run my trains as well, or run their trains on my layout, which is, one of the best experiences as well. And I think Johnny had brought it up earlier. Matt Z, we're waiting for you, buddy, to come out by us so you can run your trains on our layout. So we're looking forward to it, buddy.
I will invade your guys' layout with Pennsylvania near Central just to be that
That,
guy.
you know what?
You know,
And
you
that's okay too, because I like New York and I like Pennsylvania. As much as we joke about the East Coast on this layout, we love all trains, and no matter what coast they're on, they're all fantastic.
Yeah,
and you know,
he's
Matt,
not invited anymore.
maybe if I I can't do it. But no, Matt, if between now and then, if I get a Dreyfus Hudson, I'm gonna have to bring it just so you can have a Dreyfus Hudson on your layout again.
Absolutely,
But
absolutely.
no, I completely hear you, and I'll keep this brief. Being able to share the hobby with others, that's at the end of the day, that's absolutely what it's all about. Whether you do it virtually or in person, you know, that's you can't ask for a better hobby and a better way to share it than to share it with others. So,
Yep.
absolutely, without a doubt, that's the way to go.
For sure.
Yeah, I don't think, really quickly, I don't think I would still be doing what I'm doing. I don't think I would have had a podcast. I don't think I would have been still collecting if it wasn't for all the great people that I've met in this industry. So, it's
I
all been good things.
I tell you, this this show in particular, just this episode, would not be happening right now if it wasn't for meeting all the people and
Yep.
doing all the deals I did and buying all the things I've gotten. You know, I would still have the Rail King semi scale stuff of yesterday if it wasn't for, you know, meeting Sid and Johnny and DJ and you and all these other people. I even think of like the trades I've done. I mean, most of the stuff on the wall, we joke, say our collections rotate. Is, you know what? Half the stuff I've traded for. I haven't
It's
bought
true.
most of it. I've been
Yep.
trading. It's like I don't want to buy anything, but what do you got to trade? Let's trade. Let's make something that you like and I like, and let's do something.
Yep.
And you know, it's like you don't always have to buy. In this hobby, you can always trade. You know what? Some people like that just as much as like buying. At least that's how I feel about it.
Well, that's a good segue into thanking all of our listeners for downloading our episode, listening to our episodes, putting up with our shenanigans. And obviously, a big shout out to our friends on the Discord server, the Matt and Matt Discord server, as well as all of the other train related Discord servers that we're connected to as well. So, great folks. Love talking with you all. And again, we've pushed our Discord server already on this episode. And we really want to connect with people, and it's a good place to do it. And thanks to everybody, like even family, for putting up with my train habit and all the millions of cardboard boxes that pile up all over the house. But I'll keep this short. Yeah, again, just thanks for everybody for supporting us. That's really the key thing here, is anybody that listens to us and talks about us and tells other people about this podcast. Thank you so much. We wouldn't be doing this. Like, we wouldn't be on episode 63 if it wasn't for people enjoying what we do. So thank you everyone for that.
No, I'll echo your words real quick, Matt. Without you guys listening to this and downloading and everything else, we wouldn't be here right now. So a huge thank you to each and every one of you guys who listen, who leave feedback, all of it. We appreciate it all, and it means a lot to us changing the format like we did these last couple ones and going forward. It's going to help us improve the show. So a huge thank you. Absolutely.
For sure. And if you guys like the new format, please let us know. This is still new to us, and hopefully you guys are enjoying it.
All right, let's go ahead and close out. Mr. Johnny, where can people find you on social media?
You can find me on YouTube at Audamus. That's AUDAMUS. I've recently uploaded a new video since our last episode, which was my scenery tutorial. So if you follow me on Instagram or Facebook at Audamus_Trainz, you would have seen that I have been revamping my yard. It's all done. And in fact, you can make a yard just like that. So check out my video on my channel, building a realistic rail yard, and come and see how I did everything and what parts I screwed up. And last but not least, you can also find me on the Matt and Matt O-Scale Podcast Discord. I'm usually scrolling through the chats or making a fool of myself in the voice calls. So come on down. It's lots of
fun.
Matt Z, how about yourself, man?
You can find me on YouTube and Facebook under Matt-TrainLover9943. Instagram is Matts.hobbies. And, like the guys always say, and you heard me say before, the Discord. The Discord is mainly where I've been, Matt and I talked about this before we started, was that's mainly where I post my day-to-day, here's what I'm working on type posts. I've kind of shied away from YouTube a little bit just because, I feel Discord is just much more quicker. It's like, here's a photo. This is what I'm doing. Let me know what you think, kind of thing. I think it's quicker. So, but I still do upload from YouTube from time to time, and definitely check me out there if you want to see trains run and all that sort of thing. And yes, I will do a video on my new layout. Absolutely, once it's all set up.
Awesome. Can't wait for that. And before I get started here, just a quick shout out to Johnny for on his last video. I do make a small cameo in that where he, no spoilers, but he kind of murders me over some scenic material. But check it out. It's a really good video. And you can find me on YouTube at West Chicago Monterey Road. I'm on Facebook under the same name. And I'm also on Instagram under WCMRR. So thanks for everybody for listening. And thanks you to Johnny and Matt for a great episode. And I will catch you guys later.
Thank you very much, guys. Take good care.
Thank you.